you need a plan. You need to ensure success over the long term. And for that, you need a strategy and you need to be on top of your administration. In this week's episode, I'll show you exactly the systems and the process that we follow to ensure and guarantee success for all of our clients. You do not want to miss this episode. Hi, my name is Dr. G, and welcome to this week's episode of the Financial Dispensary with me, Dr. G. This is our first episode in the new year after taking a well-deserved break, and we endeavor to launch new content on a regular basis. So please, if you like the content, be a pal, smash that like button, send it to family and friends, and subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so that you are notified the next time that we drop content. In an earlier episode, I zoomed in terms of the importance of having a strategic system of reviewing your total finances on a regular basis. If you missed that episode, I'll be sure to drop the link up there. So just go and review that episode if you missed that. But in theory, it boils down to the following. You need to know what's going on in your financial life. There needs to be a systemized way of knowing what financial products, so all your investments, all the insurances, all of those things that most people usually not do well in terms of remembering or documenting. You need to have a systematic way of knowing who's who in the zoo and how to bring it all together. So in this week's episode, I'm going to showcase you the software solution that we are using to assist clients in that. So without further ado, let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen. So the software solution that we use is called AssetMap. Now, AssetMap is a software solution that focuses on providing a clients with a visual representation in terms of what their total financial picture looks like. So I'm just going to draw kind of a bit of a picture here. I created some default clients, some very creative names in Joe and Jane Berger. And you'll see this is the way that it looks like. So the top part of Jane and Joe, which is here at the bottom, you'll see is driven by all the insurances. So you'll see if I kind of zoom into that, things like the life insurance, the disability, the critical illness, the income protection. The reason why I immediately just like kind of this view is that the vast majority of clients tend to, over a number of years, start accumulating a lot of long-term insurances. So you might have long-term insurance with your company, so through your retirement fund or your pension or provident fund, but you'll also have an individual policy. Sometimes clients have multiple funeral policies, as an example, and they're not even aware of all of them. So this is a very nice way of just documenting in terms of which insurances do you have, who are the product providers, and what is the insured amount. At the top, also very importantly, you can add things like your medical aid and gap cover, and also very importantly, be sure to write down if you have a last will and testament and when that was last updated. So very importantly, you'll see that as we kind of go through this asset map, this was also something that I mentioned in a previous episode. It is very, very important that you don't keep all of this obviously sensitive financial information, but just to yourself, but share it with loved ones, your spouse, other key people that will help you in guiding towards your journey towards financial independence. The benefit of using AssetMap that we use in our practice, plus our own internal system, Babylon, that we've built ourselves, we have this effective document vault that's in the cloud. It is your sensitive information is protected, but if anything had to happen to you, anybody in your inner circle or family can come to us, and with the proper authority, we'll be able to share all of this information with them. So not just do we share this, will we share this information with you, but you can then also share it on to the relevant people that you want to. Getting back to the asset map, so the top part will be all of the kind of insurances split across let's call it the two spouses. If I zoom now in on the left-hand side, other data points that we can put in is like the income, Also, very importantly, the income that we generate from the assets. So obviously, remember, the goal of financial independence is to earn money and then not to spend all of the money, to save some of that money and invest that money into assets that will also then generate income. And over time, the income that you earn, there's going to be less pressure on that, and the ability that your assets earn, that income will then start increasing. And once it becomes like a magic tipping point, that the assets that you've accumulated earn an income that's greater than the income that you earn from your own salary or occupation. And that's what we call kind of independence, or when you retire, when you are financially independent. So all of the income sources we document there. Also on the left-hand side, you'll see in Asset Map, we document all the compulsory funds. These are funds that are in a pension or retirement vehicle with a little red block. So we'll put all of them there. And you can also have a spot for all the other discretionary investments. So bank account, savings account, all your debt as well, obviously, credit cards, loans, unit trust investments, money market, bank accounts, your crypto, etc. All of them are on the left-hand side of the husband, and on the right-hand side for the spouse, or on the right-hand side. At the bottom, we'll have all of the kind of properties. So just zooming into that now. So all the fixed properties. So fixed property, your primary residence, that rent, your beach house, the rental property that you have, and so on and so forth. And you can also see on this little tab, this is where we're going to link certain liabilities to a specific asset. So a classic example, your primary house might be valued at 2 million rand, but you still owe the bank 1 million rand. So we'll be able to add all of that data points in there. So the reason why I show you this is just to give you a high level view in terms of having a structured system documenting all of the financial products that you have across all the different product providers. So again, just to summarize, medical aid, gap cover, last will and testament, all of your long-term insurance, both in your personal capacity and through your corporate or work. All of the income sources, income that you earn from assets that you've already accumulated. All your compulsory assets, so that's all the retirement funds, all your discretionary assets, that's all the other ones. Unit trust, bank accounts, crypto, savings, etc., etc. And then all the fixed property as well at the bottom. So primary residence, secondary properties that you accumulate, and so on and so forth. The other one that is also very, very powerful in terms of this is, as you build your empire, there's going to be a scenario that you might add some business interests. So you might start a company where you own the shares in the company. You might start a company where the shares is owned by your family trust. So just like you can see, I can toggle here between John and Jane. So I can just choose one or either both of them. We can add multiple entities. So you can add your children. You can add the other business structures and entities. So all the companies, your closed corporation that you inherited, the family trust, and then also start adding assets in those entities as well. So you can see in terms of, as things kind of develop over time, you can have this holistic summary view of all of your financial assets. Now, I cannot stress how important this is. There's a saying, if you plan to fail, you fail to plan. And that's the value add that we as financial planners can add to clients, is by having, firstly, creating a starting point. That's effectively what this asset map is sitting down, documenting and saying, you know what, this is my asset map. This is my map of my assets that I currently have. But now we can then move on to the second step in terms of the plan, which is the goals that we are trying to achieve. So again, just to go back to the example that we have, let's say that this specific client, so Mr. John Berger, now decides that, you know what, he is very worried that something happens to him, and what if a bus hits him? What is he going to leave Jane with? And in this plan, obviously, we can then create what we call target maps. So target map is, so the asset map is what do I have now? The target map is where do I want to go to? And without going into great detail, there's various financial goals that we can then assist the client in building out. So as an example, let's just choose the loss of life. Let's say Mr. John Berger is very worried about what are the financial consequences of him losing his life. And what you can see is we're going to, again, divide it into 3 buckets. So bucket number 1 is, what do you want, Mr. Berger? So let's say, as an example, Mr. Berger says, you know what, my goal is that I need to replace my income. Let's say my income that I want to leave to Jane is 300,000 per year. It's going to increase by 6% until she turns age 90. So this is where you can see we can start playing around with a range of variables and do a bit of scenario planning. If not this, then maybe that. If not that, then maybe that. We can obviously budget for things like the debt obligation. So let's say there are still debts. So let's say, you know what, we need to budget for the 500,000 that we owe my brother-in-law, as an example. We need to budget for the funeral costs, etc. Once we've identified what you want, we can then move on to the second part, which is what you have. And the what you have element is effectively just a list of all the assets that we've detailed in Asset Map. So here we can then start adding the assets to the Asset Map. And we can go through the long list of various assets. We can decide whether there's future contributions. And you can see every time, if you keep your eyes on the top part, by adding a certain asset, you can see how we toggle and play around with the variables. Which brings us to the third part, which is, what does this all mean? So you can see, based on this, our calculation has identified that we are effectively 47% funded, or Mr. Berger is 47% on his way to achieving his goal, that in the event of X, in this case, the loss of his life, what will Jane get? So you can see in terms of the power of using a proper financial analysis planning software, but very importantly, having a detailed starting point in terms of what the client's goal is. I cannot stress how important this is as a starting point in terms of on your journey towards financial independence and success. So this is one of the big value adds that we provide to clients when we sit down and we say, you know what, let's start with drafting your asset map. What is the current situation? We look at everything. Very importantly, it's not just in terms of long-term insurance and long-term investments, but we also look at the other 2 big financial products, which are all the short-term insurances, your car insurance, the household insurance, the content insurance, the business insurance, and medical aid and gap as well. And then over on top of that are the things like the estate planning, is your last will and testament up to date, and the tax planning, which is very important as well. Remember, you can have all of these fancy assets, but if you don't structure them in the appropriate way, you might be paying way too much tax. So there's clever ways of including certain instruments into your financial plan to ensure that we limit the tax that's due. And as I said again in a previous episode, remember, the only certainties in life are death and taxes. So it's very important to incorporate those 2 elements. What is going to happen in the event of my death? And this is where we use Asset Map in terms of, and your target map to identify and show you exactly what are the consequences in the event of death, and also with regards to tax planning. Because we know SARS is not going to go away. In whichever country you currently reside, you will have to pay a certain amount of the income that you generate to the government. But there's legal ways of limiting that. And this is the big value in terms of that a proper certified financial planner can add the value to your life. So there you have it. It's our approach and strategic way in terms of how to add massive amounts of value to our clients by having a proper system and a very systematic way that we approach and how we deal with the client to assist them on their journey towards financial independence. So if you enjoyed the content, smash that like button, send this on to family or friends. All of my details, contact details will be below in the description. So if you feel that this is something that you also want to be part of, just reach out to me or any of our team members and we'll take it from there. And that's it. Thank you. And until next time, goodbye.